A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Primetime News, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
President Wickremesinghe says India's rapid development will aid Sri Lanka. Fishermen poaching in Sri Lankan waters released in 24 hours, according to Indian media reports.
මේට වඩා රටක් පාවා දීම මම දන්නේ කියන්න වචන නෑ මේක. මේ විදිය කමිටුවක්ද අපේ රටේ ක්‍රිකට් පහුගිය දවස්වල පාලනය කරේ කියන එක තමයි මට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ.
SLC refutes claims of opposition leader on letter sent to the ICC. Opposition leader says SLC is violating the rights of Sri Lankan cricket fans. Health professional associations reveal more details about unregistered medicine imported to Sri Lanka.
And now the story is in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that the rapid development of India will help Sri Lanka in its development drive. The President expressed these views while speaking at the second Voice of Global South Summit.
First and foremost is the question of the debt settlement. As you know, Sri Lanka reached bankruptcy, but now we are on our way to have debt sustainability, which I hope we will achieve by end of the year. But that doesn't mean that all can do it, and Sri Lanka supports the write-off of debts of all low-income countries. That has to take place. We want to see a restructuring of the multilateral development banks representing the realistic position of the global economy. These must take place, and the global north must agree to it. There is also the question of trade. In the last 3 decades, we have seen economic power being transferred to Asia and now into Africa. Now this process must continue, but there has been disruptions in the international trade. For instance, the WTO is now being disregarded. First, it was the issue of not appointing members to the appellate body, but now it's a total disregard, and this is being done by the global north without consultation with the global south. We must resist it. We must ensure that the global south is also able to write the rules. If one side writes the rules, we cannot accept it. All must get together, write the rules. There must be unity of voices and unity of purpose. Otherwise, we cannot succeed.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe highlighted details about the economic partnership between Sri Lanka and India.
Prime Minister Modi and I came to an agreement on the Indo-Sri Lanka economic partnership vision. It's a far-reaching one. We are dealing with maritime connectivity, air connectivity, energy and power connectivity. We are establishing a high-capacity grid between Sri Lanka and India. We are leveraging India's rapid digitalization for Sri Lanka's purposes. We are having Indian rupee as a currency for trade settlement. India and Sri Lanka will be involved in the development of the Trincomalee port and the surrounding areas, including an economic zone, and of course the full utilization of the oil tanks in Trincomalee. We will also study the possibilities of land connectivity between our 2 countries. Now this is what I call a genuine cooperation. It's not only that India helped us, but now we are going ahead with economic cooperation. As India grows, and the fast growth of India will also help Sri Lanka.
Minister of Sports Roshan Ranasinghe says that the ban on Sri Lanka cricket was imposed due to misrepresentation of facts to the ICC by the Sri Lanka cricket. Speaking at a special media briefing today, the minister revealed a letter sent by SLC to the ICC on the 7th of November.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් ආයතනයේ සභාපතිවරයා සහ
It has been revealed and it has been confirmed to us that the ban on Sri Lanka cricket has been obtained after misleading the ICC. If a letter is being sent to an international sports body, the executive committee must convene and approve it. Asantha Dimel had not even been invited and the executive committee had not convened.
අසන්තදි මෙල් මහත්. එතකොට එතුමාට ආරාධනා කළත් නැහැ. ඒ වගේම තමයි විධායක කමිටු රැස්වීමක් තියලත් නැහැ.
The minister said that Sri Lanka cricket has provided false information to the ICC.
මෙන්න පළවෙනි ලිපිය මම අද මාධ්‍යයට නිකුත් කරනවා.
I released this letter to the media with responsibility. This is the letter sent by SLC to the ICC on the 7th of November. The letter was sent by Shammi Silva of Sri Lanka Cricket. The letter says that they had not been given an opportunity to respond. They were given the first opportunity by the Kusala Sarojini committee. That has not been mentioned anywhere here. The Auditor General conducted an audit and based on that audit he had sent the Secretary of the SLC 7 letters and asked them to respond to the audit queries. This is the letter that was sent to the ICC in contravention of the laws of Sri Lanka. This is the letter that brought disrepute to cricket in Sri Lanka.
ජාත්‍යන්තර ක්‍රිකට් කවුන්සිලයට 7 වෙනිදා යවනු ලබන ලිපිය තමයි මේක. අපේ ක්‍රිකට් ඉතිහාසයේ කළු පැල්ලමක් ඇති කරපු ලිපිය තමයි මෙන්න මේ ලිපිය.
The Minister of Sports also spoke of another letter sent by Sri Lanka Cricket.
නැවත ලිපියක් යවනවා 9 වෙනිදා. මේ අධිකරණයේ ක්‍රියාවලිය යනවා. එතකොට රටේ නීතියට පිටින් නෙමෙයිද මේ අය මේක කළා?
Another letter was sent on the 9th. This was done while the court proceedings were ongoing. So have they not done this outside the legal framework of Sri Lanka? They have challenged the sovereign right of the general public to debate about these matters. Here too they have misled the ICC. Prior to this, in the letter sent on the 28th, they have said that there is no requirement to get permission to hold the LPL. The procedure that should be followed when organizing a tournament has been clearly written down in 1974. Participating or organizing a tournament locally or internationally, either individually or as a team without the approval of the Secretary to the Ministry of Sports cannot be accepted. When this provision had been brought to their attention continuously, they continue to make statements and act contrary to the law. They have misled the ICC and written this in the letter that was sent on the 28th. Therefore, I believe that it is clear who brought a black mark for cricket in Sri Lanka.
කළු පැල්ලම ඇති කළේ කවුද කියන එක දැන් මං හිතන්නේ අනාවරණය වෙනවා ඇති රටටම.
මේ ප්‍රශ්නෙට ඔබතුමා බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන විසඳුමක් නොලැබුණොත් ඔබතුමා ක්‍රීඩා ඇමතිදුරෙන් ඉවත් වෙන්න සූදානම් වෙලා ඉන්නවද?
ඉල්ලාස් වෙලා මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ විසඳන්න බෑනේ. මට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ විසඳන්න.
Sri Lanka Cricket issued a statement responding to allegations made by the SJB. In the statement, Sri Lanka Cricket strongly refutes the recent allegations made by the leadership of the SJB in Parliament regarding the communication between SLC and the International Cricket Council. The statement adds that it is evident that there is a misapprehension and misinterpretation of the contents of the letter under reference, and the SLC is compelled to clarify its position on the said matter. It goes on to note that SLC, as a full member of the ICC, is duty-bound and obliged to adhere to the member obligations envisaged in the Articles of Association of the ICC. In doing so, SLC is further obliged to keep the ICC informed of any difficulty and/or difficulties of adhering to such obligations. SLC says that with the appointment of Roshan Ranasinghe as the Minister of Sports, SLC has been experiencing continuous undue interferences by the Minister in its governance and operational matters. The statement highlights the fact that the interferences by the Minister made it difficult for SLC to manage its day-to-day affairs as envisaged in the article, compelling the SLC to bring such interferences to the attention of the ICC, as SLC could not honour its obligations to comply with the said requirements envisaged in Article 2.4d of the ICC articles. The SLC says that in the backdrop of repeated interferences by Roshan Ranasinghe and the said interferences being brought to the attention of the ICC by the SLC, the ICC did take the following actions. On the 25th of November 2022, ICC issued the first warning letter to SLC regarding political interference by the Sports Minister. In April 2023, a 3-member committee was appointed by the ICC to monitor and report back on the political interferences of the Minister of Sports. In May 2023, the Deputy Chairman of the ICC, Imran Khawaja, visited Sri Lanka to inform informed the relevant stakeholders of the importance of permitting SLC to function autonomously and the possible repercussions of not adhering to Article 2.4d of the Articles of Association of the ICC. The SLC went on to note that despite the warnings and the ICC Deputy Chairman visiting Sri Lanka and the Minister of Sports had violated Article 2.4d of the ICC Articles of Association. The statement notes that in response to the action of the Minister, the ICC had explicitly and categorically said that it would not recognize any interim committees appointed by the Minister, and the ICC would only recognize the duly elected office bearers of SLC as their point of contact as far as Sri Lanka is concerned. Therefore, the suspension of SLC was a result of continuous interferences by the Minister, despite numerous warnings resulting in SLC not being able to adhere to Article 2.4d, and that it was not a result of SLC's communication, which was misquoted and or misapprehended by the leader of SJB in Parliament.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa made several revelations at a media briefing held today.
Sri Lanka Cricket ආයතනය International Cricket Council එකට මේ ලිපියෙන් කියනවා.
The SLC, in this letter that they wrote to the International Cricket Council, asks the ICC to inform the Sri Lankan Minister of Sports that the appointment of an interim committee will result in the suspension of Sri Lanka cricket. In this letter, the chairman of SLC influences the ICC to inform the Minister of Sports that the Under-19 Cricket World Cup, the annual conference of the International Cricket Council, as well as the ICC Men's World Cup tournament in 2026, and the ICC T20 Champions Trophy in February 2027 that are scheduled to be held in Sri Lanka will have to be moved to another country.
අපේ රටේ ක්‍රීඩාපතිවරයාට කියන්න කියලා බලපෑම් කරනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් ආයතනයේ සභාපති.
The opposition leader also spoke about the sports minister's powers to appoint an interim committee.
අංක 25 දරන 1973 ක්‍රීඩා පනතේ 32 වෙනි සහ 33 වෙනි වගන්තිය.
Section 32 and Section 33 of the Sports Act number 25 of 1973 clearly states that the minister has the power to appoint interim committees and to appoint authorized officers. They have clearly misled the ICC, provided false information to the ICC and attempted to influence the Minister of Sports of Sri Lanka.
අපේ ඉන්න ක්‍රීඩාපතිවරයාට අනිසි බලපෑම් කරන්නට දරපු උත්සාහයක් හැටියටයි අපි මේ කාරණා ගන්නේ.
The opposition leader said that the SLC had violated parliamentary privileges.
එතකොට ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් ආයතනයේ ප්‍රධානියා කොහොමද? අපේ රටේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ පක්ෂ විපක්ෂ සියලු දෙනාම එකට එකතු වෙලා.
How can the head of the SLC write a letter to the ICC criticizing a resolution unanimously passed by the members of both the government and the opposition in parliament? Has he forgotten the concept of parliamentary sovereignty? No matter how much of money they have, no matter how much influence they may have, and no matter how many connections they have, Sri Lanka Cricket, the head of the SLC or officials of the SLC cannot violate these provisions in the constitution. We cannot allow cricket to face the same fate that befell the country. We need to learn the lessons from our country going bankrupt. We cannot allow Sri Lanka cricket to go bankrupt as well.
රට බංකොලොත් වුණු පාඩම අපි ඉගෙන ගන්නට ඕන. ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් ක්‍රීඩාවත් ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් වල සල්ලිත් බංකොලොත් වෙන්නට අපිට ඉඩ තබන්නට බෑ.
During the past few days, we brought to you details of the judgment delivered by the Supreme Court, where it held that several top members of the government, including former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, had violated the fundamental rights of the general public in managing the economy of Sri Lanka. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, former Finance Minister Gotabaya Rajapaksa, former Secretary to the President Dr. P.B. Jayasundara, former Governor of the Central Bank Ajit Niwad Cabral, former Secretary to the Ministry of Finance S.R. Atigala, former Governor of the Central Bank W.D. Lakshman, were also among the 7 respondents who were found to have violated the fundamental rights of the general public by mismanaging the economy. Many factions expressed views regarding this judgment today.
Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna parliamentarian S.M. Chandrasena says that the Rajapaksas were not the only reason for the economic collapse.
The main reason for the economic collapse was the destruction of the property of Sri Lanka and the various struggles that took place in the country. Now they are saying that they are good people and the Rajapaksas are bad. Some people are calling for the civic rights of the former president Mahinda Rajapaksa to be revoked. I wonder if they are speaking through their mouths. He is the person who ensured the right to live of 25 million people in this country. Those who are calling for his civic rights to be revoked are not speaking through their mouths.
SJB MP M. Velukumar expressed these views in Kandy today.
Petrol, diesel, Polingalile. மக்கள் மரணித்தார்கள்.
People died in petrol queues. People died from substandard drugs. They are not natural deaths. These people were killed. It is clear today that the people were killed because of the wrong decisions of the Rajapaksas. Justice should be served for those who were killed. The court has ruled that Mahinda Rajapaksa was responsible for the economic bankruptcy. But the president also joined the birthday celebrations of Mahinda Rajapaksa. Therefore, it is clear to us that Ranil Wickremesinghe and this government will not take any action for the atrocities and the economic crimes in Sri Lanka. A general election must be held to be fair by the people.
While the debate on those whose actions caused Sri Lanka to go bankrupt continue, the Voice Against Corruption made some startling revelations regarding the Krish deal.
දැන් මෙහෙම B report වලින් උසාවියට කරුණු ගොනු කරමින් යනකොට දැන් කවුද FCID එකේ ලොක්කා රවි විද්‍යාලංකාර මේ 2016 7යි 11 මේ
When B reports were being submitted continuously, who was the head of the FCID? It was Ravi Vaidyalankara. When these facts were submitted on the 11th of July 2016, Namal Rajapaksa had been arrested and was in remand custody. Surprisingly, by that time Ranil Wickremesinghe was Prime Minister and Maithripala Sirisena was the President. We are showing how they have built governments and the FCID and how underhand deals have been struck during this time. On the 11th of July 2016, during the tenure of Vaidyalankara, the main police investigator of the 7th Division said that Namal Rajapaksa should not be granted bail as the investigation has just begun. A surprising event takes place that very same day. This is a letter sent on the 12th of July 2016 by the head of Krish to the head of the FCID, which says that Krish had given Namal Rajapaksa 70 million rupees and that the transaction has had a damaging effect on the company's reputation, and therefore they asked the FCID for a letter saying that they are not connected to this matter. When Krish brought the letter to the FCID on the 12th of July, Ravi Vaidyalankara gave a letter on the same day stating that Krish had no involvement in these investigations and were not involved in these corrupt deals. What is Ravi Vaidyalankara's motive behind providing such a letter? We have found out his motive. The company registry contains documents regarding the board of directors of companies. In these documents, we can see a new appointment of a director to the board in December 2022. The newly appointed director was none other than Anil Ravi Vaidyalankara. This was his ruse. He was appointed to conduct investigations, combat crimes, and reduce fraud and corruption. But instead, Vaidyalankara acted outside of his sworn duty. We have learnt that the allowances for the directors is 1.3 million, and this allowance had not been collected by him in the last 10 months. What is this loyalty? We will continue to expose more underhand deals in the future. Should we not consider this letter was issued because he was bribed? Then shouldn't action be taken against him for accepting bribes? We are writing to the Inspector General of Police to take the necessary steps to bring him to justice.
එහෙනම් ඔහුට විරුද්ධව අල්ලස් ගැනීම යටතේ නඩු පවරන්න යුතු නැද්ද? නිසා අපි ඔහුට විරුද්ධව නීතිමය ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගැනීම පිළිබඳව පොලිස්පතිවරට ලියනවා.
The first rally in the island-wide campaign titled Ranil for 2024 was held in Colombo today. The rally was organized by the Sri Lanka right-wing organization.
Professionals and social activists were among those who attended the rally.
The reason behind organizing this rally is for us to say that whether or not Ranil becomes president in 2024, we will stand for the ideals of Ranil Wickremesinghe. In less than a year, he has proved that only those ideals can save the country. Be patient for just one more year. Your future will be much more brighter. When we say Ranil for 2024, it is not Ranil but Ranil Wickremesinghe's liberal right-wing ideals that we are rooting for.
Ranil Wickremesinghe කියන පුද්ගලයාගේ ලිබරල් දක්ෂිණාංශික මතවාදයයි අපි ජයග්‍රහණය කරවන්නේ. යුද්ධය අවසන් වෙනකොට ලංකාව ඩොලර් බිලියන 35ක් ලෝකෙට ණය තිබෙනවා.
When the war ended, Sri Lanka was $35 billion in debt to the world. Mahinda Rajapaksa got an opportunity to manage this debt and develop the country in 2009. What happened was something different. The thief known as Basil Rajapaksa is one of the main reasons for them to fail. Basil Rajapaksa is the most corrupt out of the Rajapaksas. Mahinda Rajapaksa knew about these corrupt activities. They put the country in debt to the tune of $60 billion. They took the debt and built the Hambantota port. There are no ships there. They built an airport in Hambantota, but there are no planes there. They built an international conference hall in Hambantota. There are no conferences there. They had invested their money overseas. They have purchased 2 islands in Nigeria. They have invested in countries like Dubai. They do not care about the people in Sri Lanka. The only thing that they want is to make their family members billionaires for generations to come. I fearlessly say that the thief named Basil Rajapaksa will also contest the upcoming presidential election. Aren't these people ashamed? How are they announcing their candidacy for a presidential election? Only Ranil Wickremesinghe has the ability and wisdom to be a national leader from among all the candidates who are to contest the presidency.
A silent protest was held in Thimbirigasaya today to express the people's deep-seated frustration with the ongoing economic crisis.
About 200 days ago, the people in Colombo came together to this very same place to demand for the basic rights, what they believed was their fundamental rights, demanding for solutions to the rising cost of living, for issues against the fuel prices, the gas crisis, the economic issues in the country. Today, I can see these people holding placards demanding to a stop to corruption in the country. This is a situation on the streets of Colombo on a very rainy day. People are holding umbrellas, people are wearing raincoats. They are holding placards and demanding for solutions.
We are not going to shut up and sit down. We are not going to keep quiet. We are here for a reason. We're here for a reason only. That is because we want to see some sort of system change and a betterment for our country. I have children and I have grandchildren. I want them to have a good country to live in, just like I did. Not too long ago, Sri Lanka was voted as the #1 travel destination by Lonely Planet. And look at us now. The international community thinks everything is now back to normal because they think the savior has come and rescued our nation. If we don't come out and if we don't stand here showing our dissent at the bad governance of our country, people are going to think everything is fantastic now, just like a lot of people think, and they keep asking me, why are you still protesting? And my question is, what has changed?
Last Sunday there was an incident where about 40 people accosted us, confiscated our protest boards and flags and even our chairs, and they stole all those things, and on top of that they threatened us not to do this again. They said they would not allow us to do this again. It's ironic that at the time when the courts have given a ruling saying that the Rajapaksas were responsible for the economic collapse of Sri Lanka, we find our President Ranil Wickremesinghe going to celebrate Mahinda Rajapaksa's birthday. This is the situation of the country. So as citizens who value freedom of speech, we will come here, we will speak about these things. We will continue to do that even if we are threatened.
This pattern or this method of using thugs to attack peaceful protesters and then bringing in police to repress protesters is a clear violation of fundamental rights that people have for peaceful dissent, and it is also a method that the government is using to shrink democratic spaces.
Right? Who else is there but Ranil? There are enough of people. Just give them the chance.
It is a well-known fact that the daily struggles of people living in rural Sri Lanka are at times unfathomable to people living in more urban or suburban areas. Gamadha teams continued their journey across rural Sri Lanka for the 13th day today.
මම රස්සාවට ගිහිල්ලා ගාමන් ගියේ මගේ දරුවෝ දෙන්නට කන්න දෙන්න ඕන නිසා ඒ ගිහිල්ලා ඇවිල්ලා වතුර වලේ ඉන ගාවට වතුර තීදි ගෙදරට එනකොට මට දරා ගන්න බැරි වේදනාවක් ආවා. කන්න තිබිච්ච හට්ටි වලම් පිඟන් කෝප පුටු ඇඳන් වල නිදා ගන්න කොට හැමදේම පාවෙනවා ගේ ඇතුලේ. ඉන ගාවටම වතුර සතියකට වැඩි මම පිට ගෙදරක හිටියේ මට කන්නවත් නැතෝස.
This is the Siribopura village in Hambantota. The lives of the people here have been all but destroyed. These areas are constantly affected by floods. The salinity in the atmosphere has also created cracks on the walls of the houses here.
හැමදාම යටනවා කිසිම බලධාරියෙක් මේ ගැන හොයන්නෙත් නැහැ බලන්නෙත් නැහැ මේ බලන්න මේ තුවාලයක් එක්ක මං සෑහෙන දුක් විඳිනවා මේකට හොඳ දෙයක් කරලා දෙන්න කියලා තමයි මං ඉල්ලන්නේ.
The only way to enter the Akarepanaha village in Okuvela is by travelling across this unprotected railway crossing. There is no proper road that leads to this village that 70 families call home. These villagers have no access to clean drinking water. This is what the residents here had to say. This is the story of a resident of Dumbagaswatta in Mausagalawatta, Matale. How is this mother supposed to protect her two daughters in a house that gets infested with snakes and other dangerous animals when it rains? This mother is not just pleading for a roof over her head, but for the safety of her two daughters. The Mandur village is situated 20 kilometers from Thiruvanvilla in Batiklo, but the village is only 800 meters away if one is to travel on this ferry. While the poor people here have no proper modes of income, they have to also spend an exorbitant amount of money to travel on this ferry. This is what the people here had to say. These are the voices of the people who spoke with us from Hambantota, Batiklo and Matale. We are ready to be the voice of the voiceless. The Gammadda teams will continue their journey across Sri Lanka along with the students of the University of Peradeniya tomorrow.
Made in Sri Lanka.
Newsfirst with the people.
The Department of Meteorology said that thunder showers may occur in the western, eastern, northern, north central, Sabargamuwa, Ua and northwestern provinces and Kandy and Matale districts. Heavy showers is being experienced in several areas of the country. The Kegol Bulat Kohupetiya road was flooded near Valimanathota Rock Hill Bridge due to heavy showers in the area. State Minister of Finance Ranjit Simbalapitiya says that there are 19,000 metric tons of sugar which was imported at the old price in Sri Lanka.
The cabinet paper approving the price hike on the tax on sugar clearly states that measures should be taken to calculate the stocks of sugar purchased at the previous price and implement a stipulated price until these stocks last. The Consumer Affairs Authority should act vigilantly. Even a consumer needs to be aware and make a complaint if there are vendors who sell sugar at a high price.
Administrator of the United States Agency for International Development Samantha Power told President Ranil Wickremesinghe that the Biden administration greatly values its partnership with Sri Lanka.
On a post on X, Administrator of the United States Agency for International Development, Samantha Power said she had a good discussion with President Ranil Wickremesinghe while in the Maldives for the inauguration of new Maldives President Dr. Mohamed Muizzu. The US said administrator added that she heard about Sri Lanka's economic recovery and stressed on the importance of political reforms. She said that the recent $550 million plus investment in Sri Lanka's port infrastructure by the US International Development Finance Corporation shows the Biden administration greatly values its partnership with Sri Lanka.
In news overseas, the US is set to close a deal with Israel and Hamas to pause conflict and free some hostages.
Israel, the United States and Hamas have reached a tentative agreement to free dozens of women and children held hostage in Gaza in exchange for a 5-day pause in fighting. According to foreign media, the release, which could begin within the next several days, could lead to the first sustained pause in conflict in Gaza. A detailed 6-page set of written terms would require all parties to conflict to freeze combat operations for at least 5 days, while the initial 50 or more hostages are released in smaller batches every 24 hours. It was not immediately clear how many of the 239 people believed to be in captivity in Gaza would be released under the deal. Overhead surveillance would monitor movement on the ground to police the pause. The stop in fighting is also intended to allow a significant increase in the amount of humanitarian assistance, including fuel, to enter the besieged enclave.
And in sports news, Australia beat hosts India in the long-awaited final of the ICC Cricket World Cup 2023 at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad a short while ago.
The official ICC Men's Cricket World Cup India 2023.
Australia captain Pat Cummins won the toss at the Narendra Modi Stadium and chose to bowl first. The Aussies consistently took wickets through the first innings. Shubman Gill, Rohit Sharma and Shreyas Iyer all fell with just 80 runs, leaving Virat Kohli 54 and KL Rahul 66 to rebuild. The hosts scrambled to 240 all out, leaving the game in the balance and the halfway stage. While the innings were on play, foreign media reported that a supporter entered the field. Security forces worked to remove him from the field, and a note expressing support for Palestine was seen on his shirt. Foreign media reported that the Palestinian in question has been arrested. Meanwhile, chasing a target of 241, the Aussies got off to a rocky start after Jasprit Bumrah claimed the wicket of Mitchell Marsh and Steve Smith, while Mohammad Shami claimed the scalp of David Warner to leave Australia reeling at 47 for 3. However, Australia beat hosts India in the long-awaited final of the ICC Cricket World Cup 2023. Cricket fans were able to watch and listen to all the action of the World Cup via the MTV-NBC networks, the official local broadcast rights holder of the tournament. The matches were also streamed live on www.sirasatv.lk.
The official ICC Men's Cricket World Cup India 2023.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.